Welcome back to Bible Shorts, Episode 50. Abigail Comes to the Rescue. Last week, we learned how David spared King Saul's life. And David and his men were still hiding in the hill country in the wilderness. And in today's story, though, we're going to go back one chapter to find out what happened just before last week's story. It's about a woman who stops David from doing something really wrong. Now, there was a rich man in this area of the hill country whose name was Nabal. He was surly and mean. But he had a clever and beautiful wife who was called Abigail. Now, Nabal was very rich. The Bible says he had 3,000 sheep and 1,000 goats. And one day David heard Nabal was shearing his sheep at Carmel. So what does David do? He chose 10 young men and said to them, "Go up to Carmel and go to Nabal and greet him in my name, and then thus you shall salute him. Peace be to you, and peace be to your house, and peace be to all that you have. Say to him, I hear that you are shearing your sheep. Now your shepherds have been with us in the wilderness, and we did them no harm, and they missed nothing all the time they were in Carmel. Ask your young men, and they will tell you. Therefore, let my young men find favor in your sight, for we have come on a feast day. Please give whatever you have at hand to me and my men." And when David's young men came to Nabal, they said all this to him in the name of David, and then they waited. But Nabal answered David's servants, "Who is David? Who is this son of Jesse? There are many servants today who are breaking away from their masters. Shall I take my bread and my water and the meat that I have butchered for my shearers and give it to men who come from I do not know where?" So David's young men turned away and came back and told him all this. David said to his men, "Every man strap on his sword." And every one of them strapped on his sword. David also strapped on his sword, and about 400 men went up after David, and 200 remained with the baggage. David said, "Surely it was in vain that I protected all that this fellow has in the wilderness, so that nothing was missed of all that belonged to him, but he has returned me evil for good. God do so to David and more also, if by morning I leave not so much as one male of all who belong to him alive." But one of Nabal's young men warned Abigail, Nabal's wife, "David sent messengers out of the wilderness to salute our master, and he shouted insults at them. Yet David's men were very good to us, and we suffered no harm, and we never missed anything when we were in the fields as long as we were with them. They were a wall to us both by night and day, all the while we were with them, keeping the sheep. Now therefore know this, and consider what you should do, for evil has been decided against our master and against all his house. Nabal is so ill-natured that no one can speak to him." Then Abigail hurried and took 200 loaves of bread, 2 skins of wine, 5 sheep ready dressed, 5 measures of parched grain, 100 clusters of raisins, and 200 cakes of figs. She loaded them on donkeys and said to her young men, "Go on ahead of me, I'm coming after you." But she did not tell her husband Nabal. As she rode on her donkey and came down under cover of the mountains, David and his men came down towards her, and she met them. When Abigail saw David, she hurried and dismounted from the donkey and fell before David on her face, bowing to the ground. She fell at his feet and said, "Upon me alone, my lord, be the guilt. Please let your servant speak in your ears and hear the words of your servant. My lord, do not take seriously the words of Nabal. I did not see the young men of my lord whom you sent. Now then, as the Lord lives, and as you yourself live, let this present that I have brought be given to the young men who follow you. Please forgive, for the Lord will certainly make you, my lord, a great house, because you, my lord, are fighting the battles of the Lord, and evil shall not be found in you so long as you live. Do not harm Nabal and my people. David listened and said to Abigail, Blessed be the Lord, the God of Israel, who sent you to meet me today. Blessed be your good sense, and blessed be you, who kept me today from avenging myself by my own hand. Go up to your house in peace. See, I have heeded your voice, and I have granted your petition. Then Abigail came back to Nabal. He was holding a feast in his house like the feast of a king. Nabal's heart was merry within him, for he was very drunk. In the morning, when the wine had gone out of Nabal, his wife told him these things, and his heart died within him. He became like a stone. He must have had a stroke. And then about 10 days later, Nabal died. When David heard that Nabal was dead, he said, Blessed be the Lord, who has kept me back from evil. Then David sent word by his servant to Abigail to make her his wife. Abigail rose and bowed down with her face to the ground and said, Your servant is a slave to wash the feet of the servants of my lord. Abigail got up hurriedly and rode away on a donkey. Her 5 maids attended her. She went after the messengers of David and became his wife. David was not a perfect person, was he? He messed up. He got angry. He was just like you and me, right? But I think what makes David special is how he listens. When people either warn him or tell him he has done something wrong. And how David trusts that God himself is watching over him and sending people into his life to help and guide him. So what happens next? Look for Bible Shorts, episode 51. David flees to the Philistines. Again?